Right, well, Zamoody shared his story, and with me being the quote-unquote storyteller, I think it's only fair that I share mine. But he's right though. It can be hard to stay motivated and keep going when things get tough. But hopefully, in the spirit of reflecting, and with me sharing just a bit of my story, it might help some of you. So hold tight, guys. Ren's about to go on a Ren Rambles special. So here goes. When I was but a wee tot, I had always loved acting. In primary, I used to perform plays with my friends, bringing characters to life. I had so much fun seeing my classmates smile, laugh, gasp and shout. I think that was my first step on this path. Step by step, I followed this path, walking it as it led me through the gauntlet that was secondary school. Now, I think it's safe to say that secondary school was literally one of the worst times in my life. But it was at this time that not only did my passion for acting grow, but so too did my love of films. I remember crying at the 90s classic of The Iron Giant, being overwhelmed with emotion at Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, and developing a huge crush on Jim Hawkins from Treasure Planet. I remember diving into YouTube's music community, finding composers like Hans Zimmer, Two Steps from Hell. All these things merged together, culminating into one goal. I was going to be an actor, no matter what happened, and nothing could stop me. And you bet I chased that dream. I joined a weekend acting school, I chose drama for one of my GCSEs, and even though my peers would laugh at me as I performed and would try to tear me down, I didn't care, because I was going to be an actor, and nothing could stop me. And I kept telling myself that, over and over and over again, until one day, my head of drama kept me aside after class, with people who were supposed to be there to support me, and together they said, "You are not good enough to be an actor. You need to focus your efforts elsewhere." And in that one moment, it felt like the floor had been taken out from under me. It broke me. I felt lost. And for the first time in my life, I had no goal. GCSEs were just around the corner, and I had no clue what I was doing with my life. I felt a piece of me was gone. Until a small spark entered into my mind. You see, I had been writing short stories in my spare time, as a stress reliever, because, studying sucks. But I had an idea. Why don't I make my own films? Why don't I write my own characters and bring them to life my own way? Yes, that was it, my new goal. I was going to keep on acting, but I would pour my heart and soul into learning how to make films. And slowly, but surely, I dusted myself off, got to my feet, and started walking my path again. I worked hard. I got my GCSEs, writing scripts and filming my first films along the way. I even started an old YouTube channel, making some vlogs that will never see the light of day. Ever. And went to do my A-levels. My apologies to the Americans who have no idea what I'm talking about right now. A-levels. The time in any 17 to 18-year-old's life where they wish they could just pretend it never existed. Mine was no exception. I struggled so much with the academia, and I felt that if I didn't pass these, my life was over. And when you're in school, that's all you know. You're taught that if you don't pass them, you lose. Game over. I was so afraid that my dreams would be snuffed out again, just because I couldn't remember some biology keywords or some psychology case studies. That fear ran rampant, and I remembered what my head of drama had said, and I just felt like my life was falling apart. I tried my best, but like a runner tripping just before the finish line, I did not get the grades I needed to get myself into the uni I wanted. Once again, I felt devastated. This time because of my own failings. But once again, a spark came into my life. I was told about this thing called clearing, where unis tried to fill their courses with students who just missed the mark. I applied, and I waited. And I got in! I remember being sat in front of my computer, crying tears of joy when I saw the confirmation email. I was going to learn film production at uni, and nothing could stop me now. And so, September rolled around, I packed my stuff up, I shoved it into my car, and off I went. But even though I felt like everything was going for me, something was missing. I felt the hole in my heart grow a little bigger. But it was just jitters. First time away from home, meeting new people, it was nothing. First year, went without a hitch. Second year, things got a little harder. And again, that niggling feeling just wouldn't shift. And I just couldn't figure out why. Until a series of fateful events lined themselves into place. During my second year, there was a module called Work Placement, where we were told to go out and land a short-term work assignment at any film-related business. After months and months of trying, no one would have me. And by this point, I had had enough of feeling like I wasn't good enough for anyone. I remembered my years of acting. I remembered the joy it gave me. So I decided that if I was going to fail this module, I may as well fail at doing something I loved. I knew voice acting existed. I had played my fair share of video games in my life up to this point, but I'd never thought I was good enough for it. But hell, what did I have to lose? I searched the internet for casting call websites, for projects that might need voice actors, and wouldn't mind having a newbie like me with only her headset mic. And it was then, at 2 a.m. in the morning, I stumbled across the Skywind website. Yes, Skywind had their own fully fledged website in 2016. And with me, being a massive Elder Scrolls fan, I went, you know what? Fuck it. I recorded my auditions and attached them to the website. I didn't think anything would come of it. After all, I wasn't good enough to be an actor. But when I checked back after a week, highly expecting nothing, I'd found I'd gotten a message from the project lead himself saying, yes, we want you on this project, and we want you to voice Dunmer females. I cried, because finally I had proven to my old head of drama, to myself, that I was good enough. And since that day, I've been a working voice actor. I've gone from my old headset mic to having my own booth, meeting loads of creatives, finding my strengths, working on projects, and falling in love with myself again and what I'm capable of. Even using the skills I learned at uni to build my new YouTube channel, Renara Hawke. And now, even hosting a podcast on Twitch! I've never been happier. But from time to time, I look back to the little girl I once was, and I hope that she would be proud of where we are today. Now, this is just the beginning of my story. There is still much more to tell, as there is with everyone's. But I realized something as I was writing this. I had told myself that nothing could stop me all those years ago. But I had stopped me. I had listened to those negative people, let them tell me what I could and couldn't do. And I had stopped myself from following my dream. Never let anyone tell you what you are capable of. Do not let these people tear you down or let them have a hold over you. You are capable of following your dreams. You are capable of reaching for the stars. The only one who can stop you is you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our hosts, Zamoody, Eldurrino, Renara Hawke, and PrincessPashley, in this week's episode of Cold Read, the podcast. Is everyone okay?
Masterfully written. Wow. Absolute applause. Good job on that intro.
You did your story. I was like, well, there's mine. A little bit about me.
And I loved it. I loved every moment of it. There's a lot of things that I didn't know, and there's a lot of things that we had heard before, and it's super great to. And you've got that little note to yourself now. And
Yeah,
that's
I do.
exactly why I would recommend everybody go and do that. Right where you are right now, record your story. Even talking about what you don't like, and then leave yourself a note for the future, because I know I'm excited and I've got some stuff to talk about, so we're going to get to that. But welcome everybody. Welcome to Cold Read the Podcast. This is a show for voice actors or voice producers or sound producers. We're starting out our journey, and we love to share our experiences, and hopefully that you all pick something up. And with Renara's wonderful intro, you see that the ride isn't always smooth, and that's perfectly fine. But like I do every week, I'm going to check in with our co-host, and we're going to talk about why Eldurrino's not here, why Mr. Birnam's up there. So we'll get to that in just a moment. So let's check on the other side of the world, and let's see how everything is going now. Miss Renara Hawke, how has your week been?
It's been a slow and steady plodding along of just getting stuff recorded in my booth, of like every day 50 lines a day, just slogging through the current 800 block list of lines I've got to do for just one card at the moment. So slowly chipping away at it and just pushing through, I think is a good word. Nothing much. Oh, I made a link tree.
You did make a link tree. It's right. Yeah, and I will change all of the descriptions to fit that link tree. Thank you for that.
I finally got my ass around to doing that.
And it's only season 2. That's so great.
I know.
Yeah. All right, Pashley. Hello.
Hi.
You look, for those of you that are actually here or watching on YouTube, you look a little different today, don't you?
I'm not wearing makeup.
That's not what I meant, but okay.
No, but for real, no, I got like 4 inches cut off my hair because I was fucking sick of it. Looking like dog shit. Well, what then? It wasn't dog shit. It was just like where the wild things are, and they're probably like small monkeys swinging around in there. I don't know, but yeah, no, I got my hair cut on Friday. I took a work from home day, and it ended up being really slow on Friday anyway. So, and then we went and sang karaoke. And it was really nice to see Brian up on stage again, because we haven't really gone to real karaoke in a while. Not in a while. Not like we had a terrible time last time we went post COVID, and the KJ didn't even know how to like.
About that, yeah.
Yeah. And I got my car inspected, and I did all the adult things. So vehicle inspections for you Europeans, we need to have that done every year, depending on
1 or 2, yeah, depending.
Depending.
MOT in service. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That'll be it.
I'm chronically horrible about getting my car inspected. No, but like it's just been super busy at work, and we're just gearing up for Luke to be starting school, and we got some good news about him. He'll be able to be supervised at school doing homework.
Good.
Yay!
So I don't have to like leave in the middle of the day, go get him, and then bring him back. Bring him back to work. So anyway, yay, good news.
Scottish Moon says we have that too. It's called our MOT, MOT?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what it stands for, but we say MOT.
Okay.
Gotcha. So work is going well, Pash? Commute is getting a little better?
Well, I discovered the beauty of driving during pandemic the other day.
I know.
I was trying to get used to the metro, but it was taking me an hour to go 4 miles. And I'm like, well, I have to start driving soon because of the going around DC to an underserved metro accessible part of the city. And it's like, fuck me. It took me 15 minutes to get into the city.
Wow.
Without all the stress of everything, so yeah, I gotta look into garages that are not super duper expensive. I do have commuter's assistance, but
yeah.
Anyway.
And it's funny because you mentioned COVID. Now, down my area, it's getting more and more. I mean, people that would normally show up 10 minutes early at their 8 o'clock shift are now showing up 10 minutes late, and it's like, oh my god, traffic. It's like, did you guys forget in the year and a half that everybody else was at home that this is an issue?
Yeah.
Well, the reason my commute on Metro, I won't take up too much more time, but the reason it's so much longer is because the bus isn't running as frequently as it did. I have 2 bus lines that serve near where I live, and they are run by 2 different jurisdictions.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So, right. One is Arlington Transit, one is DC Metro, and they show up one right behind the fucking other. And I'm like, what? So, and I asked one of the bus drivers about it. She's like, oh, we're just in a pissing match with one another. It's TLDR. And I'm like,
nice.
So literally I have to wait 20 minutes for a bus with 2 lines going down a major artery of Arlington. I'm like, this is fucking dumb. You all can get fucked. But anyway, the Metro rail is fantastic once you get there. But anyway.
Gotcha.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yes. I have coffee still. I make coffee in the morning. I kind of forget that it's here. So like, what am I? I've been live on Twitch for 3 hours and 40 minutes. Totally forgetting that I have my coffee right here. So cheers to
Birnam
me.
has something wine looking.
Oh. Speaking of, that's not Eldurrino on the upper right hand side of the screen.
No, not exactly.
Someone clip it and send it to me.
Oh my god, yes, please.
I'm sure, but
that's ridiculously good.
That is. So if we ever lose Eldurrino, we know where to look. Burnham, how are you, my friend? I know you were here last week.
Doing
Thank you
okay.
for that. Yeah. So how has your week been?
It's been the kind of second heat wave, like not as bad as the first one up here, but there's been forest fires around, so staying inside and avoiding the smoke, which is tough having the little one around and not being able to go out as much.
Yeah.
But it's also
Stay
kind of
safe,
the norm.
please.
Yeah. We're safe. It's the worst of it's gone, and so things are kind of getting back to normal there.
Good. Project-wise, anything good coming up in the horizon for you?
Wise, nothing much. Still just waiting for the last of the Hawkeye motion comics to come out.
Gotcha.
We got the last one that was put out. The one episode I wasn't involved in really. Got feedback on Twitter from the artist of that comic.
Ooh.
So that was exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, and. So it's been getting a little bit of traction and popularity. Other than that, not much. I've not had real time to audition for anything. I've been keeping my eye on casting call and stuff and not seeing much that's jumped out at me. Otherwise, I'm just kind of waiting for other projects to go ahead and get feedback from those.
Gotcha. Well, that's good to hear. Magmorta says, "Oh, he's in Washington too." I'm right in.
Yes.
I'm right in that too. So yeah. I know it's what was it, the beginning of COVID? It was Australia who was on fire. Now all the west side of USA is on fire. It's a weird time.
Yeah, just every year now it seems.
Yeah, it's just getting worse. So for me, well, first off, I'm gonna say happy birthday to my youngest daughter. If you're out there, happy birthday to you. Sweet 16. Today we went out and we celebrated yesterday. We went over to basically a hibachi place, and I got some clips and stuff, and I'll be posting that on TikTok later. That was a lot of fun. Work-wise, so I'm still waiting to hear back from the North Carolina commercial. They're still deciding. I don't know what they're holding up on. I got a private invite on voices.com for a Spanish, basically like a kids thing, and I'm shortlisted for that too. So I'm waiting to hear on both of those sides. I know exactly. Fingers crossed, because these are big. These are commercials. These are like 13-week stuff that I can actually put on my resume. So, so looking forward to hearing a bit more on that. So we'll see what happens. Otherwise, yeah, I'm with Birnam, trying to survive the heat wave, trying to go to the 9 to 5. Well, really for me it's 6:45 to 3:45, but pulled back a little bit from the streaming thing. I'm only streaming 2 days a week now, and then the weekends I'm leaving some stuff up and running. But for the most part, voice acting is going to be my focus, only because that's something that I want to develop, and that's something that we want to move on to the future. But with that generally comes projects that you get signed up for. So Renara wanted to talk about.
I did. I wanted to talk about a little thing today because it's only because I've dived straight back into doing this Skywind stuff, and I was like, I don't think we've covered this, and I'm not 100% sure how many of you have done long haul projects, or at the very least, considering long haul to me is about more than 3 months onwards sort of thing. And I've been doing Skywind since 2016, so very long haul. So I just wanted to, I don't know, just cover bits and pieces on how to take care of yourself whilst you're doing those, and two, just going along with that.
And
all the words have just gone from my head.
That's fine. And I'll wrap in voices.com, because voices.com is basically a 1-year commitment, and we'll talk about that too as we go. So in regards to Skywind, because you've been working on Skywind now for
5 years.
5 years.
Well, the thing is, because it's unpaid, when it was first, because I joined right at the beginning of when it was being a thing, like I said, they had their own off-site website that was that looked like early 2000s sort of HTML, really sort of rough-edged type thing, and at that point it was just the project lead, a couple of other leads, and a lot of auditions. So I jumped in around 2016 and have been on and off for these 5 years, because with no deadline and me still being at uni, I had to do my university work and that around it. So I was lucky enough to have that sort of I wasn't so pressurized to have to get it, so I could do it as and when. But now, as recently, they've started giving deadlines. They're kicking off inactive VAs and everything like that. And so, yeah, it's kind of becoming a thing. And one thing I've very much found is that I am struggling to do the amount of lines I used to be able to do now for some reason. And I mean, in my video on Skywind that I made ages ago, I was able to do 100 lines a day. That was easy peasy for me. But for some reason now, I'm struggling to do 25 a day. Okay. And I think it's mostly because, one, work. I'm now working, and two, I think I've just got a whole other. I don't know what it is, but I think I'm not taking care of myself as much as I used to, if that makes sense. So I'm really bad at this. I'm trying, guys, I swear. I'm just rambling at this point.
No, well, let me ask you this: you're struggling when you're in the booth. You're saying you're only putting out about 25 when you used to do 100. So is it just your personal commitments that you've got? Do you get in there and you start thinking of other stuff? What's happening when you get in there?
I think what's happening is that not only have they done this massive, because on long haul projects, the likelihood of things changing midway through is quite high. I remember going into this being expected to speak. I had obviously a dialect coach and explaining how certain words were said, because these were characters that had their own dialect and language. So certain vowel sounds sounded different, like A as in father. So any A sounds would be elongated. So when you looked at a place name that isn't real, you kind of had an idea. I remember, I think it was 2018-19, after they basically, quite a few people left and quite a few people came in, and they just rejigged the entire pronunciation thing, which then I was then asked to redo most of my lines. So I think it's because there have been so many small changes at the moment that are causing me to stop and having to read these lines so many more times than I used to back in the day. Because Fire made a comment a few days ago going, 50 lines doesn't sound that big, that too much. And I'm thinking, yeah, because one thing also with long haul projects, I often find they give you longer lines. So I have lines that are actually paragraphs that are split into things. Because if anyone's played Elder Scrolls games, they say something, pause, next bit, pause, next bit, pause. I think because previously they just put them together in one thing. Now they've split them up. So technically, I think I have more lines, but they've split it up to the point where it looks like I have more, I think, maybe. And so when it comes to those things, I always read it first. I go through it. I find the pattern and the cadence and the flow of the line first to stop me from just recording constantly over and over and over again, to my existing knowledge, subpar lines. So I'm not just handing in like gaff and then a good one. So I read it through, I go over it, and then when I feel happy enough that I can read it through without messing up, I then go and record it, which helps, which I think helped.
Okay. So it's no, you're fine. You're fine. So it's an interesting concept. Like, for example, like when you're putting on say like a stage show, or Pashley, I'm sure you've got some experience when it comes to musicals and stuff. I mean, for the most part, you go maybe like 9 months at most, and then you perform it, and then you let it go.
It depends on what level.
True.
The average professional operatic rehearsal period is 6 weeks.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So you show up with your music learned, or you get fired.
So it's more cutthroat.
Okay. It's a little different. I don't know. Like but back in high school, it was like a 3-month odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
But I mean, I'm sure it was a ton of fun also to get in there and do that. But
oh, absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. Especially the energy of like a tech week.
Yeah.
You know, the week before the live performance, and then you're just having yourself
daily.
Elevated.
Yeah, and stuff starts coming together in like those last 3 or 4 days. Now the problem, obviously, with a long-term project is that generally tends to not be there. I mean, stuff you've got your deadlines, which is great, which is good, because if one of my warning signs when it comes to a project, if there's no deadlines, if there's no deadlines, B, if there's nobody listening to the deadlines, red flags.
Because that's one thing they are really catching on now, because what happens is when you're on, at the very least, because there's other projects which are also long term that I'm being a part of. There's this other Skyrim mod that's going to happen eventually, but they always have this board, this Trello board, which I found is quite useful, I think, for people who are making them. And I never knew it existed until I joined Skywind. A lot of things, but it was on there. You can set your deadline yourself, and so I was setting them myself. But I had this habit of, I'll push it back a few weeks. I'll just keep pushing it back, and then you get into that cycle of just pushing it back. And what's happened is there's more leads coming on the project. They've noticed these things now, and they've gone, please do not move your deadlines unless absolutely necessary. So they're tightening up on that, which is interesting, which I think is also because with deadlines, with having that autonomy over your deadline, there's an added level of stress to that, knowing you set that, you have to meet that. It's not been set by someone else, if you know what I mean. And there's that thing of...
I mean, okay, so let me ask, who here is a procrastinator? I know
me,
100%.
And in pretty much the same circumstances as well. For my main job, I'm writing to deadlines that I'm mostly agreeing with my the person overseeing the projects. We agree on the deadline. She asks me, so when do you think you can get this done? And I'll go, 2 months, a month. And then I try to overplease by kind of going, I'll get it done by the end of the week. And then I don't. So yeah, like that, I absolutely understand.
So can I introduce you all to the concept of engineer time? I'm sure just by what I've said, you guys kind of have an idea. So in Star Trek...
Oh, yeah. I was wondering if we could do that.
No.
Your engineer will always say, or the engineer will always say, oh, it's going to take, X amount of time. And then the captain always says, well, I need it in this much time. The secret to that, and I know it's just a show, and I've actually applied this in real life, is that they're overestimating it by a lot, knowing that they're going to shorten the time. So I use engineer time in my real life. If I know it's going to take me a day, I'll generally ask for 3. And then if I can get it done in a day, I'll give it to them in a day. And then everybody's super happy.
Or you get the reputation to make miracles if you give them the real time.
Exactly.
I'm trying to teach that to my son, the concept of engineer time. And he's taken to it rather well because he's been reading the Aeneid. He's going into 7th grade and reading the Aeneid. So it is a slog. It is a slog. And he's usually like really fast. And I'm like, this is going to take you a long time, kid. So you got to do a little bit at a time. Really get into like looking at the big picture, like in planning, because gifted kids is totally kind of off topic, but like time management, project management is super important, especially if you're like me and you have ADHD and.
But yeah, so
shut up.
Especially if you're setting your own timelines and you're setting everything else, don't be afraid to use engineer. And this is like somebody. Yeah. And somebody caught me on it too at one point, who was also a Star Trek nerd. I turned in a report like, so it's going to take me a day, and I gave it to him in a couple hours. He's like, oh, engineer time. I go, shh. Don't give away the secret.
Yeah. But then when you don't do that on the other end, when you come up on that deadline that you've set yourself and you're not going to meet it, that just feels the worst. And and you become like
your productivity goes down,
so you're failing yourself.
Quality of work goes down too.
Don't remind me. Like, also, there's another thing that I've found, and it's very annoying, but I've caught myself on it so many times, is that when you've got long haul projects, sometimes if you have to take a break, you kind of forget what sort of voice you used initially. So I went, and so what I've ended up doing is I've done several different versions of a line, and then gone back to, oh wait, no, this is what I used to sound like, and then doing several takes of that. And I think that may be also why it's taking me a little bit longer. But I think I've said it before, and I think, well, now I've been doing it so long, like getting back into it, I know what voice I need to use now. But if I'd gone back, I would have gone, right, I need to do a voice clip of the voice that I'm using for this project and save it as a separate file and leave it there for me to check back on if I need to take a break on it. So that way I can then go, oh, that was the voice I was using a year ago. Sort of thing. So
let me so those of you know that I did a text-to-speech job for voices.com. That particular one had an interesting idea that I'm going to keep going with. They send you, because there was it has to do with emotions and everything else and reading things in a particular way. So they gave me a list with like 2 of each: sad, happy, excited, and they said, this is going to be your Bible. We're going to approve this. And if we like this, this is how we want things to listen. So I'm going to carry that forward from now on. When I'm working on a project, I'm going to keep myself and have a little like master file. And as Walter's asking the question, do you keep sample files for reference? I have every single thing I've recorded from the beginning of time. It's just data.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about this last week because it's why don't you? We've got all the hard drive space that we need. So we might as well keep it.
Or you can use cloud space if you're really, Yeah, I mean, not as much. It's not as cheap as hard drive space, but if you need to,
No, yeah, 100%. But okay, so we've got that. So we've got the idea. The project's going to be long term, and generally, most people are very open when it comes to talking about timelines. But I mean, we're all here, and we know that these things happen. We know that projects get pushed. One of the first things I got cast for was the Midnight Poppyland comic dub, and that didn't come out till like a year later. So now we're starting to look into moving forward on that, and now it's a year later, and it's like, oh my gosh, the character that I played then, I've got to go back and I've got to re-research it. So that's something that we have to absolutely keep in mind.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at this dilemma as well, so I'm very interested in what we're talking about, because Renara will know I've been part of a project that has been postponed for a certain amount of time. I got my first batch of lines written and submitted and stuff, but the project hasn't gone forward any since then. And I'm still really interested in the project, and I want to get the feedback and keep working on it and stuff, but circumstances are such that it's being delayed. But I have those anxieties as well about when it comes to recording the next batch of lines. It's now been several months since I recorded the first batch. I'll have to go back, listen to them, try and get in that same headspace again.
Because it's all about consistency.
Yeah.
especially with the character. Sorry, Renara, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's cool. I was like, I have a point. I know what to say. Also, what I've found, at the very least on long haul projects as well, is that often if it's not fully cast yet, because sometimes with bigger long haul projects, they'll cast it in batches or in sections. For example, with the other one I'm doing, they cast the main characters first, and then they did the sort of NPC second. So, and with a few of these, they will already ask existing VAs, if nobody's auditioned, hey, could you maybe do these as well, or these as well? Like, I was asked to do Orc. I literally don't know how they want me to sound, because apparently they've got one very specific way they want it to sound. But I followed the brief, and it's not what they wanted. So it's one of those things where you're on long haul projects, if there is likely to be extra stuff you could do. For example, I think with the project Birnam's talking about, because I know the project lead on that one, I've offered to do some editing for him to help him alleviate the stuff that he's dealing with now. But like you find with these larger projects, there are other sections that you can reach into and expand yourself on. And I think I've had to deal with this in that there's that opportunity, and then I'm there going, oh, I must grab all of these opportunities, because if I don't have anything after this, I won't have anything to do. So I keep adding stuff to my workload, and in retrospect, I'm going, was this a good idea? Was this really a good idea? And I'm there going, right, if I'm not what they want me for Orc, I will just go give it to someone else then, because with everything else I'm doing at the moment, and me with the struggling, I'm going, have I overloaded my basket right now? Have I given myself too much to do? Yes, and because if you give yourself too much, the rest of your stuff becomes half as good as it could be. So I'm there going, yes, it's great to, there may be lots of things to go, oh, I want to do this, oh, I want to do that. But have a look and see what you are able to do in the time period, in the time frame, and prioritize that. And that is main thing I'm taking away from this massive project, really.
Yeah, it's not an opportunity if you can't pass it up. You have to recognize that you're able to, look at a situation and pass up on that opportunity. Otherwise, it's not an opportunity because you don't have the choice.
Well, and I know Pashley and I, we both struggle with we want to do Twitch, we want to do our home life, we want to do, all of our other side projects, and there's just not enough time in the world for everything. So that is definitely something. And I was going to bring up that point. It's just when you keep bringing yourself, because you want to audition and you want to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. And at one point, you're going to see the mess on that wall. And you're going to have to decide what is actually worth doing. Because I reached the point, and not to sound smug or anything to that effect, I'm not taking free jobs anymore. I'm taking those that gave me a shot from the get-go. But other than that, I'm not working for free for anybody else. I'll work for Matt Man, who gave me like one of my first ones. I'll work for Sunshine, who does the Midnight Poppy Land. But other than like those, no, I don't have time. I barely have enough time to come in here as it is. Walter says, yes, I hear you there. I constantly have to choose family time auditions or Twitch community. Exactly. We all want to wear, no pun intended, different hats. And it's depending on the hat that we're wearing at that time that we want to make sure that we do it at 100%.
And I was just going to add onto the side of like paid projects and things like that. After doing this massive one, I've gone, if I was being paid for this, I would be being paid a very big, substantial amount of money right now. And I'm there going, I'm actually, I could definitely probably get paid to do this now. And it's that weird retrospective. Once you're on a long haul project, you kind of get that introspective look of, because you see yourself progress and you see yourself do these things, and then you go, oh my God, actually they want my stuff. I'm doing this. They still want me to do this. Okay, I probably should be paid for this after a while. And I remember asking you guys going, I have no idea what the heck I should charge. What do I do here? Because there's that niggling feeling, at the very least for me, it was like, am I worth asking this? Can I ask? Can I say this?
Yeah.
And then I went, yeah, actually, I probably could. But it's that weird journey of you find yourself, and you will be, when you start charging, you will be ready to start charging in that weird way, because sort of thing. And I don't know, I've because it's different in England than it is over in America, I think I've decided to charge per word on a project rather than per line, because then it will. But per word, not only does it give the project lead, like the person running the project, an easy way to calculate how much is owed, but also it will cover the amount of time needed for that amount of words to be said. So that's my take on the thing, or that's my epiphany I came to after being on a big project sort of thing. And I know that can be difficult for people to go, I have no idea what to charge. I would say per word, because then no matter how long.
100%.
Yeah.
And generally, I've heard the kind of perspective that when you're first putting a price on your services like that, whether it's by word or by line or by time or whatever, you will generally feel like you're overcharging, but you're in fact undercharging.
Yeah.
That's almost universally the case when you first sit down to do it. You'll go, well, this much? And then they'll go, oh yeah, of course, sure.
Yeah.
And then you pick up a little bit, and
I don't know what it is in singing, Pashley. I don't know if you know, but for voice acting, $250 an hour is generally per finished hour is the norm.
Yeah.
It always depends. Again, it just depends. Like, I get, for my church job, it's like different from when I show up to a rehearsal than when I show up to the church, right? And then if you work for the Met and you're in their choir, you make $125,000 a year, something crazy like that, if you're in their like main roster. So that, like, when I say it depends.
Well, and it's funny because it can depend too when it comes to voice acting. The problem is it's the people that undercharge that devalue that and make us feel like, well,
some people like are trying to interpret as like a customer acquisition phase in getting themselves out there. And it's the equivalent of a business being like, here, come try us, 30% off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Didn't think about that.
No, and you're absolutely right. That is exactly what it turns into. But we always have to be careful because it's a competition. It's not a competition, but it's, the price wars start and all of a sudden we're working for free just to put it on our resume. And exposure does not pay the bills.
No, it does not. It's the same on Twitch,
Yeah.
So I have a question for everyone then.
Sure.
Would you charge two different fees, one for raw audio, one for edited audio?
100%.
Yeah.
like if you
Why?
were charging by time,
Time.
if you're charging by time, that would add up and make it cost more. So if you're
Absolutely.
charging by
It's your
word or by
time.
line, you need to take that into account.
So rule of thumb is for every 1 hour recorded, you go 4 to 6 hours editing. Between retakes and everything, if you're doing per finished hour, it's going to take you 4 to 6 hours just to be able to get that to, or 4 to 6 times the original amount. So if you're doing an audiobook, which is big right now, you go to ACX and you want to submit one because this is Amazon and their level is very high. It's going to take you, if the book is a 10-hour book, it's going to take you 40 to 60 hours just to get through the whole thing. And that's not even talking retakes. That's just to do the initial submission. If you're doing it in less time, I can guarantee you're going to have breaths, you're going to have clicks, you're going to have mispronunciations, you're going to have it all on there. So and that it's not even counting prep time. Thank you, Walter. That's another thing to keep in mind when it comes to this particular profession. I'm sure again singing and all of that. It's got to be.
You're not paid to learn your music.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Yeah, in
Show
writing
up
as
with
well.
your
It's
fucking
really,
music learned.
Yeah.
Every single page. I showed up at an opera. I was doing a cover of a smaller role, and the Marriage of Figaro is one of the longest operas ever written, and there's a lot cut from it. And I did not take note of they're doing the full thing. And there was like pages of recitative that I didn't know. And my voice teacher didn't really warn me about it. Recitative is basically like very quick spoken text.
Mm-hmm.
but it's sung. It's accompanied by a harpsichord. It's very strange, and it's very difficult. So, and then they're like, oh, we had to recast this person because this person didn't learn their music. And so do you know this? And I'm like, this isn't usually performed, so I didn't learn it. So I lost out in that, and I felt like an asshole, but also at the same time, like,
I mean, what are you supposed to do? Learn the whole thing on your own time?
Learn the whole thing. Overlearn. In that case, that was my lesson that time.
And in Birnam, you mentioned in writing.
Oh yeah, in writing it's a similar thing. You've got, the time that you physically spend, pressing buttons on a keyboard and writing the thing, but there's the thought that comes beforehand, there's the analysis of it afterwards, there's changing things in order to make it all flow together and make sense, and then there's going through it afterwards and editing and then formatting. It's it's a long process.
And then Walter says, imagine being an understudy. Yeah, I mean, I've done drama before. I've been an understudy, learned the whole freaking thing. I felt like I would do it better, but I'm gonna sit there in the wings and not do a damn thing with it. And that show is somewhere in my head.
There's always something to be built and learned. Like in that particular case with that role, like if I were still an opera singer, it could have been something I sang a lot. If I'm still like classically trained, but like working professionally. But then there's also like you're learning your process. How are you learning music? How are you learning your Italian foreign language? Are you working with a coach? There's always something to be. So no time is ever wasted, even if you're not on stage, and you have to like go into that go into every project with that mentality. Like, what am I learning? What am I improving this time? Because then otherwise it really does become a grind.
And that's what you have to be careful, especially when it comes to long-term projects, because if you do burn out, all of a sudden you kind of want to ghost the project, and that's terrible. That's going to give you a horrible reputation. Yeah.
I was going to add, because on the sense of learning everything, what you might also find, and I've done this to actors before, I'm sorry, but occasionally lines will slip the crack. Like writing the script for quite a few of these things, because I do my own like audio drama. I have to take the lines and make the scripts, and sometimes lines slip the crack. So I even on like other projects and things, they were gone, this line is missing, could you do this one? And then they're going, you forgot to add that. And I think also you just have go in with the expectation of it might not all be there. So just if they give you other stuff, because retakes will happen. Retakes are just a fact of voice acting. It happens. 100%. So I've found that my retake list ends up being longer than I thought because of all of these missing lines that they haven't added in. And so you'll go through it all. You will have done everything you think you're done, and then all of a sudden a bit more comes on, and you're there going, right, you got to take the same level of energy as you did with the first lot, because rounds of retakes can go on for a while. On my main card, I'm on my round 4 of retakes because there are just more lines they keep finding, or they've changed something, or they've like something's different, and you just got to take that as it comes and as it goes, because on long haul projects, the project evolves with you, so you've got to be as malleable to go with it in a sense. Which is why when I post casting calls for my stuff, I go, you'll be on the project long term, but you might not be doing stuff like for a while, but then when you come back, you have to have the same amount of energy. And I think that's pretty true for anything you do in voice acting. I think no matter what you do, you got to come back in with the same amount of energy as you did starting it, because then the quality of it stays the same.
Well, and even when it comes to, because you don't have the body language. A lot of communication is done with body language. So you've got to do it with your voice, and you got to make sure that energy is still there.
Yeah.
So I would say that the one last thing that I would want to bring up about long-term projects is that sometimes they don't work out.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna spend a couple of months, and you're gonna throw in all of these lines, and then real life, just like real life can get in with a voice actor, real life can get in with a producer or a director. So something to keep in mind is that if that happens, don't beat yourself up about it. It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I think the kind of core thing on all of those directions is communication with everybody involved.
Yeah.
Walter says, I read something that says that VOVAs should be able to review, interpret, and audition in a matter of like 5 to 10 minutes. I can't imagine that. I usually do several takes of an item and listen back and go and feel. I even feel that I have to feel, then record it for real. So it takes way longer than that. And that's 100%. I mean, we're all perfectionists. That we all want it to be that one take that's going to be like, you're done. And I've only had that happen like once in the times that I've been recording with a live director. It's like, you finish your line. It's like, okay, great, let's move on.
Yeah.
Best
It's
feeling
just
out
getting
there.
that validation, and you get it straight away.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about having the director in your ear. So 5 years is a long time. I think my longest project is 2,000 lines, and I had to work for like a couple months. The text to speech stuff was also 2,000 lines, and I did that in like 2 weeks. But I'm still waiting to hear back if there's any retakes on that. So it's something to keep in mind when it comes to that stuff is that be open about your availability, because we all have lives, and especially if you're doing it for free, think about it. Is this going to be something that is going to help you move forward or gain experience?
Yeah.
Walter says, right. 2 hours recording time to get a 1 minute demo. Demos are a monster.
That's why I'm going to outsource mine to other people. No, well, I'm going to ask other people to help me with mine.
Well, you still have to record it though, and that's going to take you some time.
All of it outsourced.
No.
Even the person talking.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant, and you know it.
Well, I think there's a huge element of organization. There's a huge element of making sure you don't take on more that you can't do, especially at the beginning. So again, I guess like Birnam said, communication is key when it comes to this stuff.
I think right now as well, in like the last 2 years have just been anomalies and outliers in terms of how much time we have available and what we're doing with that time. As things hopefully return back to normal, there's going to be another shift in how we approach the time that we have available to us.
Because I think that's one thing that's happened in that with long haul, with some of the projects I'm on, there are inactive VAs now. So there are people who have joined the project. They have been on it for a bit, but they just haven't come back, and we can't hear anything from them. So they have been shoved to the side, quite literally, on Trello. So I feel like that'll be quite a common thing that might occur within the next sort of like few months. Of people will probably start to realize, how much can I actually dedicate to this? Because there was an influx of new voice actors. At the very least, I've seen on Twitter, from what I've seen a lot of people with the new tag of voice actor underneath, like, I'm new to this and everything, and I feel like that has just surged through COVID, and a lot of these people are going to get to the point of like, oh boy, I've got to go back to work. Can I keep doing this? And I think that's one thing that every voice actor going into this needs to think about. I think in that, how much, like, again, with the time, how much time can I allot out? And if you can, like, actually scheduling it out, because I feel like I'm talking a lot about myself right now, and I feel really bad.
This is your topic. You're the one that.
I know, but I'm not used to this, and it's weird. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, it's that thing of, you just sort of realize scheduling. When can I do this? What can I do? Because I'm having to schedule of about 4 hours in the morning, break in the middle of the day, and then 4 hours in the afternoon just to get through the amount of lines that I have to do. And I think that's working for me at the moment, because I think my situation now is much different to when I started. I was at university. I had a lot more free time and everything. But now I'm, again, working, doing other things. And I think everyone's going to have that. Everyone's going to have the going back to work. But also, a lot of people have realized that they can work from home, Pashley included. So perhaps we might see an influx in the workforce of people who are voice acting but are working from home and are doing the job that they did before COVID at home. So I think we're going to see quite a big shift in the VA community in regards to more
the competition
people.
out there, really.
Yeah.
People people picked it up while they're like, oh, I'm bored at home. So like that shift I feel like has already occurred. I know a friend of mine like went really hard into voice over work after, you know, he's an opera singer who got sidelined, and he saw that as a natural next step. So I think it's already happened, and I think maybe like people will remain if they can. It's just going to depend on, you know, like my role doesn't allow me to work from home very often. I'm in direct supervision of legal fellows and interns. So I can't, except for Fridays. But anyway.
This Friday, at least, particularly.
Working on convincing for Fridays.
Walter
Anyway.
in chat says, how to get a whiteboard and schedule things down to the hour. Time to look for auditions, time to study them, time to record, edit, time to learn, et cetera, et cetera. And this does turn into, you want to keep learning and you want to manage your time. Walter did ask me, because Walter has joined voices.com. So here's what I see voices.com as at least a 1-year commitment. So it's a long-term project, because you're paying money to get into there. You're paying at least, well, I'm not going to say at least, but at most $500 a year to have access to that website.
Ow.
I mean,
I felt that.
Yeah, there's deals and stuff going on, but I mean, this is money that you're investing. You don't want to sit on the sidelines, and you don't want to wait. The way I've always seen it is that it is unlimited, because it really is unlimited opportunities to get audition experience.
Right.
Every day you will get 30 auditions. Well, except on the weekends. The weekends is quiet, but and you want to be first in, because if you're not first in, you're going in the back of the pack. So that's one thing. I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to join it again. At this point, I've been lucky enough to it's paid for itself, and then some.
Yeah.
So I may give it another year, but because I'm not sitting at this desk, and most everything comes in at 9 a.m. Pacific, 6 a.m. Pacific. If I'm not sitting here and I'm not recording, I'm not one of those first ones, I generally tend not to. They don't even hear it, because you can see when they hear it. So my opinion, if you've invested in it, go at it 100%, because otherwise you're just wasting your money. Because $500 is, yeah.
Because I found recently something similar, I think, to that, which I think we discussed off podcast, but it was that Skills Hub place that I saw that was, well, me being a massive Jennifer Hale fan, I was like, oh, follow her Twitter, what's going on? And then she was advertising this place called Skills Hub, which was where they basically got big name voice actors in the industry. You could pay to have a lesson with them. But it also came with a sneaky sort of subcharge of, you pay to be a member on the website that they're hosting, and then you pay an extra fee to actually have the lessons with people. And I've been sitting on my thumbs going like, is this a good investment? Should I put the money that might go to other things like living into this, which could eventually give me more money to live on? So I'm in that weird position of, do I go for this? Because it's been endorsed by one of my favorite voice actors, but I had a look at the list of it, and you've got like good people on there. So I'm there going, is it worth paying this amount of money of a subscription base to get those lessons? And I know we always say it's good to like always try to learn, but I'm worried about the money side of it, really.
Go ahead, Birnam.
It's exactly the same as with time. It's it's an investment in your future skills, abilities, and opportunities. But how much do you have to invest? How much time do you have to invest? How much money do you have to invest? It's all well and good to say this would be a good investment, but not if it's all of your money.
Yeah. Ashley and I have always said we're a big proponent when it comes to and I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep talking for you, Pash, but I apologize.
No,
your basic needs need to be met first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's not worth doing. Like I hear these stories in the music industry, like, oh, I lived in my car, and like, I don't know that you ever want to let your life get that way, because that's one story out of like 500,000, 500,000.
Yeah.
You don't want to let your life get that far. Don't give up on your dreams, but like your dreams can be scalable. Like if me and Brian, we both work full-time jobs, and maybe at one point or another we had dreams of being like professional singers, but we can still go to karaoke.
Yeah.
That thing gets scratched. But we eat. We don't live in a car. You know what I mean? So dream big, but it's, it can exist on a scale. I guess I should say.
For that every one person that got from their car to stardom, there are thousands of other ones who are stuck.
Yeah.
And waiting for their break.
You don't want to be like Ed Sheeran, like couch riding and stuff like that. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe just because I'm a parent now and I have these priorities here, like feeding small child.
And that's exactly it.
My greatest fear.
Yeah. And I mentioned this in my intro last week. It's just, you have your dreams and you have that everything that you want to do. Life gets in the way. My daughter has her next 4 years planned. She wants to move away. She wants to go to Boston. She wants to do all this stuff. Life is going to get in your way. Yeah. And life is going to get in your way. So that's just something that you have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
There are many paths.
Sorry, what was that, Birnam?
There are paths up the same. There's not one way to get to fulfilling your dream.
I think I got that. Just about.
You cut out there. I apologize. Last words from Walter is, I don't know about that Ed Sheeran. Might explain why he's so comfortable with being with that unkempt look.
He's so adorable, though, like a little hobbit. You know what I mean? Just an unkempt hobbit.
He's not that tall, to be quite honest. But yeah, no.
Well, we've got the music going because we're closing shop here. This is an interesting topic. I know we kind of rambled a bit and we went on different directions, but I think all in all, hopefully people will understand that if you do get on that long-term project, don't try to branch out too much. Make sure you get what you want. These things take time. It's just gonna be a while, and make sure that you're ready for that when you sign up for it. Next week's intro, I think Pashley's going to be working on it like Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, usually.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine by me. Big thank you to Birnam. I appreciate you being our Eldurrino today.
Drink your water.
Hey!
Clip it.
Yes!
Oh, clip it and send it to him, please. Nick from the Stars, hello. Hi to everybody who is here in chat. We absolutely 100% appreciate it. If you have any topics or any ideas, please email us at ColdReadthePodcast@gmail.com. Sorry, Pashley, we keeping you up?
Yeah. Show me my wild weekends, having one cider on a Friday.
If you have any auditions that you want us to listen to and any feedback that you want, please send us your stuff. We'll be more than happy to listen to it. Until then, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We absolutely appreciate it. And we will catch you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.